Hello, 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 and Happy New Year to you all. And I want to welcome all the new members that have joined I Do in the Caribbean in the last 2 months. And I also want to say congratulations to anyone that has recently gotten engaged, because I know this is engagement season. December, January is when people tend to get proposed to, and then they start thinking of having their destination wedding. So I'm going to I'm Sandra. I am the host of this group. And I actually formed this group because I wanted to help couples plan their wedding or help them get information so they know how to get started in planning their destination wedding. So my goal for this group is just to help people or couples who are engaged or interested in having a destination plan their wedding and give them information so they can do it on their own, or if they want to, they can use my services. So a little bit about myself. I am a two-time destination wedding bride. So I got married. My first destination wedding was in the island of Jamaica in 2015. I had 100 family and friends with me at Sandals Royal Caribbean. That was, to me, the epic. We had such a great time. All my guests had a good time at our wedding. And my second wedding was in Sandals, Grenada. 2 years later, in 2017, I was just my husband and I, and we just decided to retire the knot again, and just to make sure I knew or had more experience in planning destination wedding. I think having them and going through the process will help other people plan their wedding. So that's what I do. So if you're here on this live, I know you're all engaged or you are doing a vow renewal and you want to know how to get started planning your wedding. But before you get started, there's a couple of things you need to know first or have thought about before you can even start planning. And the three things you really need to help you get started is understanding how many guests are you going to have at your wedding, because that number is going to drive a lot of stuff. So how many people do you plan and invite into your destination wedding? The second thing is your destination and location. Where are you planning to have this wedding? Because that's going to determine how much it costs to go there, the cost of the rooms, what the guests are going to pay and what you're going to pay to have your wedding. So that's a big thing. And then the next thing is the budget. So all these three things kind of go together to help you formulate how much you're going to need or what do you need to get started. So let me just start with the number of guests. If you're doing a wedding and it's going to be 20 guests at your wedding, for the most part, that could run you minimum, I would say, $4,000. And that is not even the tip of the iceberg. But people are always wondering, how many guests can I invite to my wedding? And it all depends on your budget, because you're going to be paying, depending on where you're having your wedding, if it's at an all-inclusive or at a venue, you're going to pay per person. Most resort charge you to have a wedding on resort. And people get a misconception that if I'm staying at an all-inclusive resort, then I shouldn't be paying for food and drinks because they're all included. But think about this. You're having a wedding in the venue. So the venue is a hotel. So the hotel got to charge you for the cost of the staff to put all the wedding together and to serve all your guests. So it costs the resort to host your wedding there. So that's why it costs you money. So it's almost like you're going to a resort to have your wedding as if you're doing one in locally. Like if you're going to have a domestic wedding, you would go to the venue, you'd rent the venue, you'll pay your flowers, you have your caterers. It's almost the same concept when you're doing it in a resort. It's just that for the most part, everything is there at the resort. You don't have to be shopping around to find a photographer, a videographer, catering. All that is provided for you at a cost at the resort. So you need to understand how many guests you're going to invite, because if it's 20, 30, 40, your budget gotta go up by that amount to pay for all the people that are going to be at your wedding. So the guest count will definitely have a big impact on your wedding. And, thinking about how many people can actually attend your wedding. Like you're going to invite 50 people, but maybe 20 people will show up. So you need to have a realistic number. Like I'm going to invite people, but, we're right now in the middle of COVID. So a lot of people don't want to travel. How do I ensure that people are going to want to come to my wedding? So they have to feel safe that, they can travel to your location and that the resort is also going to be a safe place for them to have the wedding. So I'm actually going to do a live just on traveling through COVID and what you can expect if you're doing a wedding in 2021, because I have a couple of clients that are, I have a March wedding, I have a couple of August wedding. People are still getting married. So I wouldn't be afraid of not planning a wedding. It's just that you just have to be aware of what the requirements are for traveling during COVID, because each country have different requirements. And each resort's going to have a different health protocol, but they're all going to be certified health protocol to make sure that when you get on location and get in destination, that the guests are going to be safe. And I just came back from St. Lucia in December, and I'm going to tell you, I felt very safe there. There were weddings that were happening there in December, so people are still getting married. So if anyone is thinking of not doing a destination wedding because of travel is still happening. People are still going out there and getting married. So I wouldn't let that hold me back from planning a wedding. So your guest list and understanding how many guests you think are going to come is going to determine, your budget. And then the next thing is destination and location. For me, I personally like all-inclusive resort, because for me, I can give my guests a package that would include their room and food and everything in there, even flight if they want to, because you want people to, if you're inviting people to your wedding, you want it to be affordable. So you need to pick a destination or location that's easy to get to. There's multiple flights going there. Hopefully you're not picking high season like Easter or summer, and you have to take in consideration if you're doing a Caribbean wedding that you don't want to do it, or during hurricane season. And last hurricane season was very bad. And hurricane season is from June to November. So you can take your chances. People are doing weddings in August. And to me, the hurricane season doesn't really start up till really bad till September. So it kind of gives you a leeway that you can actually plan a wedding and hopefully have it during the hurricane season, but not like at the tip of hurricane season, like October, November would be, to me, iffy for me if I was planning a destination wedding. So definitely the destination and location. For me, most of the ideal location that I can suggest to clients is Mexico, Jamaica, even Dominican Republic. And only because there is so many resorts there, and some of them are so reasonably priced, and there's lots of flights that go to these locations, that those are easy locations to pick if you're thinking of having a destination wedding. So a lot of people don't know, how do I pick a location? How do I pick a destination? It's really a personal thing. In your, when you're thinking of your wedding, what are you looking for? You're looking for a beach wedding. You want, warm weather. So those are things that are going to drive you to pick someplace. And is it someplace you've been before that you love and like, I want to get married here? Or is it someplace you've never been before, but you always dream of just having a wedding there? So picking a location is going to be a little bit not hard, but someone can't decide that for you. It has to be something that you and your partner think about and decide on where you want to have that wedding. And once you kind of pick a location, then it becomes easier to do the other pieces. So, as I said, most of my weddings are in Jamaica. A lot of them are in Mexico, and Mexico is a great option because there's so many different places in Mexico. You can go Los Cabos, Playa del Carmen, Cancun. There are just so many different locations within Mexico that you could have a special wedding there and not be like a cookie cutter wedding. So, and Jamaica, I'm partial to Jamaica. I'm from Jamaica, so I understand the island very much and the resort options. And there's so many different areas within Jamaica you can get married, whether it's Kingston, which people don't think about a lot, Montego Bay, Ocho Rios, Negril. There's just different areas. And if you're looking for a smaller resort versus a larger resort, so many all-inclusive to choose from. So Jamaica is always a great option. And then the air to get there or the flight availability is so much that it just makes picking a location very easy, picking a destination very easy. And now the hardest thing is picking the right resort for you. So once you've picked to say an island or a destination that you want, then you want to pick a resort. What kind of wedding are you having? Are you going to be having a legal wedding or a symbolic wedding? Symbolic wedding means that you're going to get married here before you go to the island and just do like a vow renewal when you get there. People don't really have to know that, but get married legally in the US first before you go there. Or you want a legal wedding. And if you have a legal wedding, then you have to do all the paperwork when you get there, you have to have the paperwork. Like for Mexico, you need a blood work. You need to be there like 3 or 4 days before the wedding. So there's legal requirements in getting married in those countries. So those are things you need to think about also. Are you going to have a legal wedding or a symbolic wedding? Because that will determine when you have to get on resort, how many days before you have to go there, and then the requirements for getting married in that country. Like for Mexico, the paperwork's going to be in Spanish. So you have to pay to get that translated. So it becomes costly. Not that you can't get married there, but there's other costs involved in getting married in Mexico or having a real, legal wedding in Mexico. So, and then the next thing is budget. People don't realize that, planning a destination wedding is very similar to planning a traditional local wedding. The only added thing is that you have to pay for your room and air to get to the place. So, you still have to go to the planning of, your ceremony, your cocktail, your reception. And each of them is going to cost something. Most resort, they have wedding packages that include, most of them start at 20 people. So 20 people could be $3,500. And that covers, the ceremony, the cocktail, and the reception. And they're going to give you white linens, white setup, nothing additional. Sometimes they'll give you a bouquet, and maybe they'll have flowers on the table, but there's limited decor, and anything else you want to add, you have to pay additional for that. And if you want additional guests, you have to pay for each additional guest over 20. So when you're getting married, it's good to, and you've picked a resort, it's good to get the wedding packages to see which one is going to be more beneficial for you. And wedding package is a whole different live, just to talk about. Each resort has different wedding packages, and some of them are very very economical, that it can include, like I remember I'm doing one for like Dreams Resort, and for them they include decor, they include the flowers for the tables, they also include photograph, a videograph. So for that package, it includes almost everything you need to have your wedding. The only thing you would want to add additional is more of entertainment, like we're doing a DJ. So for me, minimum, if you're doing a wedding, you're going to need photographer, videographer, some kind of entertainment. If you're going to put had additional decor and flowers, and that's at least would be like $5,000. So, these are things that are not included in most wedding packages. So you have to think about that. So if you're planning your wedding, you have to think about the cost of your room and to travel there, as well as the wedding package itself, and based on the number of guests, how much you're going to pay, and also your attire and everything you need to do before you get to your wedding. So all that has to be added together to get an idea of what your budget should be. So a $10,000 budget is a very nice budget to have a wedding for 50 people. But each resort is so different that you really have to think about that. And then with if you're having over 20 people, you might consider having a group rate, meaning that you can get a group contract that would have some concessions in there, meaning that you could get like free rooms, you can get free upgrades, you can get free cocktail hour. So each resort offers something different. So, it requires a lot of research and planning to figure out which resort, which destination is going to work best for you. But to me, if you have the number of guests you're thinking of having, if you can figure out what location you want to have your wedding, and the location, as I said, is personal. Are you a beachy person? Do you want warm weather? Where do you think you would want to have this wedding? You need to start with a place, and then you can build on that. So, those are some of my pointers in getting started. You really do have to do some research, and for me, when I work with clients, I try to get to understand what do they like, what kind of resorts have they been to before that they've liked, what places they've been to, that I can get an idea. So when I give them like options to choose from, I'm hopefully honing in on stuff that they like, and I'm giving them things that they're going to say, oh yeah, this is definitely what I want to do, or that sort of thing. Meaning that I try to help them from the beginning to the end. It's like I start by meeting with them, understanding what their needs are, and then picking resorts or a destination that would match what they're looking for. And then, I would give them wedding packages so they understand what the cost would be of having their wedding there, and then giving them definite room rates, because that's something you need to understand, because room rates and airfare to get to the resort or get to that destination is something you really need to consider when you're planning your wedding, because you want to make it affordable for your guests to come. So from, typically a 3-night stay is around $1,200, $1,000 to $1,200 for 2 people plus air. So, it's going to cost your guests maybe $2,000 to come to your wedding. So it's something you have to keep in the back of your mind that, although you're getting married and it's your day, you have to plan for your guests who's taking the time off and spending the money to get to your wedding. So, this is something you have to think about. Think about what you're looking for your wedding, and also trying to make sure you're incorporating things that, is going to be for your guests, meaning that it just can't be your wedding. It has to be a combination of, this is a great place for me, but it's also a great place for my guests because they're going to enjoy it. So I always try to tell my couple to look at the resort, do a little research, see what they offer, see what their packages are, look at various resorts, because so many resort company offer different things. Like Sandals offer a free wedding. If you book 7 nights, you can get a free wedding, and they don't charge you for each additional person. The more people you book, more perks you get, and they're not charging you for the food or anything. They're more charging you for the setup fee. So, it becomes a little cheaper, but Sandals is at a high end, more luxury, and their room cost is a little bit more, but you're getting a lot more in the end. So you have to think, you say it's a give and take, what is going to work better for me. So at minimum, I would say your budget is going to determine the type of destination wedding you're going to have. And you have to think about the number of people you want to invite, the cost of the resort, the price of the room nights there, what their inclusions are going to be. Like if you book a wedding, you bring 40 people, what can you get from the resort? Do you get a free reception? Do you free welcome reception? Do you get a free room upgrade? You get free rooms depending on how many rooms you book, how much room blocks you have. So that can help you with your wedding budget also. So people need to understand that you're having a wedding, but the more people you book, and if you have a group rate, it can be very beneficial for the couple, because they can get their rooms for free. They can get maybe their parents' room free, plus all the additional stuff they get the more rooms they book. So that's always something to take into consideration, that the more people you have coming to your wedding, the more beneficial it can be if you have a group rate. To get started, as I said, it's just going to require some research. You just really need to sit down with pen and paper and determine what kind of wedding are you looking to have, because that is going to be the basis, and then you can plan out. So, you really, really need to sit and jot down places that you would love to have your wedding, and then you have to keep doing research. Once you pick a location on, all right, I picked Mexico. We're in Mexico. I want to get married. I want to get married in Cancun. All right, is there going to be kids coming to my wedding? Then you want a resort that's family friendly. And then you want to see a resort that's maybe only 15 to 20 minutes away from the airport. So, it seems daunting, but it can be done, but you just have to make sure you have a plan in place, because you can't just, plan a wedding in your head. You have to put pencil to paper. You have to figure out what's the first step that I need to do in understanding that you need a budget. Because the budget's going to decide where you're going to do the wedding, what you can have. And if you're having a wedding, it's always good, especially doing a destination wedding, to plan at least 6 months out, because you need to give people time to see if they can afford to come to your wedding, and give them time to save for that. Also, it gives you time to save for your wedding also, because if you could save $2,000 a month, in 5 months, you could have $10,000 and you could pay for your wedding. So really, budget is a key thing, and people sometimes don't have a realistic budget, and then they get, because I know when I did my wedding, I had a budget in my head, but then I had 100 people, so that budget was completely blown. And not that I couldn't afford it, but I didn't really realize that my wedding cost that much till the end. So I always advise people is do a spreadsheet. I have a budget check spreadsheet that I have. So it just keeps track of all the expenses, because you really need to have a plan in place, have a budget, and try to organize it so you know where you're spending your money, because you can end up really not realizing that it's going to cost you as much as it's going to cost you to have this wedding. So as I said, I have a wedding budget. If anyone should want that, they can just send me a message and I'll be happy to send it to them. I think most people that's in this group got my destination wedding timeline and checklist. And that's a really good start to think of what I need to do 12 months out. So it just gives you a list of this is what I should be doing 12 months, 10 months, 9 months. So it gives you an idea of the things you should be doing and the sequence in which you should be doing them. But, as I said, I love destination wedding. I like attending them. I like having my own. I think they're a little bit so much different from a traditional wedding. It gives me an opportunity to have a wedding and a honeymoon all in one. It gives me an opportunity to spend time with my family instead of having it over one day. It's over a weekend. So we just get to spend quality time together. Everyone seems to have fun at destination weddings. So I do like destination wedding. I would encourage anyone to have a destination wedding, but it does take a lot of planning and coordination, because once say you're having a destination wedding, inviting 40 people, you really have to coordinate how you're going to coordinate booking all those people in the room, making sure that they have transfers to and from the airport. There's a lot of stuff that goes into doing that. So for me, the service I offer is I am there with you from the beginning to the end. I help you with picking out your resort, getting the wedding packages out, getting your a group contract, booking and coordinating all your guest travel, making sure that everyone is booked, everybody is aware of what's going on. Also, even create a wedding website for you. So, there's it's a place that everyone can go in to get information on the wedding, and also they can book their rooms. So try to keep everything organized in one place. And I'm there with you to answer any questions that you would like. So if anybody wants to reach out to me and book like an appointment to talk to me to see what services I offer them in helping them planning their wedding, I'll be more than happy to talk to you. If you have any questions really on planning your wedding, you can actually leave me a message in here and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Also, I'm going to be coming here live every week. So this week is just how to start planning your destination wedding. So I'm hopefully you've got enough information of things to think about so you can actually start the process. But I'm going to be talking about the wedding packages, which I've already spoken before. If you're new to my group, if you look in the unit sections, there's lots of information I have in there on different topics on destination wedding. But I'm going to talk about the wedding packages, how to decipher them, what do they include, what they do not include, what you should look for in a wedding package. I'll talk about group contracts. If you're having a wedding and you have over 10 rooms, how to get a group contract, what is a group contract includes, the responsibilities of the deposits and when payments are due, because people don't understand that, if you're getting married and you have a group contract, the couple normally is the one getting the contract so they can hold the rooms for all their guests, but they're ultimately responsible. So you have to make sure that if you get in a group contract, all the guests are going to book within the group contract. It's trying to keep them in the group, because a lot of people will book on their own and then your contract falls apart. And then all the perks you're going to get in the contract, you're not going to get them if you don't have a group. So understanding that the requirements for getting married in different countries, if you're getting married in Jamaica, Mexico, DR, what are the requirements? When do you need to get there? How much you need to pay, because you have to pay to get the judge to come to legally marry you, to get the paperwork. COVID-19, traveling through COVID, what you should think about, what you shouldn't think about. Just, any wedding planning topics I am here to discuss. So if there's anything in particular that you would want me to cover, I'm more than happy to help you to help you and to cover those topics, so you can get started in planning your wedding. So as I said, the 3 things you need if you're starting to think about planning your wedding is trying to figure out the destination and location you want to get married. You got to hone in on that, because that is a key, obviously, to, because once you have a place, everything falls into place. Once you have a place secured, or of some place you've thought about of where you want to have the wedding, then you can actually get started planning and looking for the right resort that would suit you and your family. And then, as I said, in planning that, you want to make sure you're not picking, any time that's holiday time, because the prices tend to be a lot higher during holiday times. Also during summer months, it tend to be higher. And just think about what dates you're picking, that it's not during the hurricane season, because you don't want to be your plans to get canceled because hurricane is coming. So something to think about when you're planning and picking like a Caribbean destination, because those things do happen. Budget is very important, because you need to know what the wedding cost is for you before you get to the resort, meaning that your attire, whatever you need to pay for the wedding, the room, the air, plus the wedding packages. These are all things you got to put together, because that's the total cost for your wedding. So you really need to have a handle of what your budget's going to be, and then how many people you can invite, because that is going to drive how much money your wedding's going to cost you, how many people can attend your wedding, depending on when you're having a wedding. Hopefully it's not during times when people are in school. Also, the cost, what resort you pick is going to determine if people can come or not, and how much it costs, and the air availability of getting there. So as I said before, Jamaica is always a great destination. Mexico is right now a good destination, because they don't really require COVID tests and it's easy to get there. I like St. Lucia. The reason why St. Lucia wouldn't be highest on my list, because St. Lucia is an expensive island. The rooms are not cheap, but I've been at Sandals Grand. I love that resort. They will bend over backwards. Their customer service is great. So, when you're looking for resorts and stuff, you're looking for a brand that that it's gonna make sure that your wedding dreams are going to come true. That I like to pick brands that have very good customer service. Their wedding department will do everything in their power to make sure your day is perfect. So, these are stuff. And then the biggest issue or stress people have is that you're planning a wedding in a foreign country, sight unseen. So you always want to make sure that you're picking some place that is going to really have good customer service, and is going to be a great place for you to go and have your wedding, even though you haven't been there. So you need to trust that resort or that brand is going to be a good choice for you. So as I said before, if you need any additional help, please leave me a message, and I will be on here live next week talking about wedding packages. So if there's anything else you need, please leave me a message, and I'll be more than happy to help you.